Next on CyberCrime.
What is a hacker? A hacker is someone who pursues technology.
Junk email, spam. It fills your mailbox. It makes them feel worthless.
The web is going wireless.
From hackers to spam to wireless security, we've got commentary on it all. This week, it's a CyberCrime special dedicated to chaos theory.
CyberCrime is brought to you by Symantec.
Hi, and welcome to the show. In a poll a few weeks back, we asked you what you'd like to see on CyberCrime. Your number one choice, a special devoted to chaos theory. So that is exactly what we've prepared for you, a look back at our best chaos theories. In news this week, Kevin Mitnick is back in court. Now, Mitnick has always been referred to as one of the most notorious hackers. What do you think? Is he a hacker? And are all hackers criminals? Or perhaps you think criminal hackers are called crackers. Well, back in March, security consultant Pete Shipley gave us a few of his own working definitions. Now, Shipley has proudly called himself a hacker for 12 years now. You see whether you fit Shipley's hacker profile.
What is a hacker? A hacker is someone who pursues technology. A hacker has nothing to do with computers. Okay, Ben Franklin was an inventor, an experimenter, and a hacker. Hackers are inventors. They're people who search for knowledge. They don't want to destroy the world. They don't want to rule the world. They don't want to cause chaos. Some hackers are millionaires. Some don't wish to be. Some work for multi-billion-dollar firms. Some are self-employed. Some only work when they need to. The person who sat next to on the bus could have been a hacker. Don't confuse crackers, hackers, and script kiddies. The hacker is somebody who searches for knowledge, an experimenter. A cracker is somebody with a more malicious aptitude that breaks into systems. A script kiddie is somebody who really doesn't know that much, who download programs with much of the knowledge and simply exec them to gain popularity. The media typically mislabels crackers as hackers and hackers as crackers. Hackers are not criminals. If you want to be famous, do something, be a hacker, learn about it, write about it, experiment, and publish. If you're going to be a script kiddie or a cracker, you might get your 15 minutes of fame, then you might end up in jail.
Me, personally, I just can't get used to the term cracker. I'm sticking with hacker. But the hacker-cracker debate has existed for 20 years now. What's your opinion? Send me an email at cybercrime@zdtv.com. Now, since the premiere of our show, we've gotten plenty of advice from our chaos theory contributors on the issue of computer security. Who are the targets? Where are the attacks coming from? What are the motivations behind those attacks? And finally, what's the right way to disseminate that information? What do you think? Is your staff equipped to deal with a computer intrusion? Let's start out with a quiz and then highlight some of the most common forms of unauthorized access.
Every corporation doing business online wants you to believe they take internet security seriously. Here's a spot quiz to decide for yourself. First of all, do they have an information security unit? If they don't have a clue. Does the head of that unit report to the CIO or some other corporate officer? If they don't have the clout. 3. Does that unit have a budget that's 3 to 5% of the total IT budget of the company? If it isn't, they don't have the bullets. 4. Is it adequately staffed? For example, a Fortune 500 company should have at least 2 information security officers for every 1,000 users. If they don't, they're just not going to get the job done. And 5th, if they don't know the answers to these questions, you should really think about selling your stock or taking your business elsewhere.
The web is going wireless, and will cease to become a place and more be a presence, any place, anytime. But many people say, well, wait a minute, what about security? These signals are going back and forth across the airwaves. Do I have to worry about that? Fortunately or unfortunately, the industry had to deal with that issue back before the days of the net, when people were stealing the voice signals and fraudulently running up large bills. To do that, the industry put in place a sophisticated hardware and software algorithm system that provides great security in identifying exactly who is using the phone or the device and whether or not that individual is authorized. Those systems are now in place. That means that wireless delivery of data is very secure, identifying the individual who is using it. And there are even better systems coming in, new standards that will be dynamic. The key to good wireless internet usage is going to be security. And that security is there because of the experiences we've lived through previously.
Do the hacks you hear about in the news bother you? Well, the hacks you hear about are really just the tip of the iceberg. If someone who's hacked a machine decides to vandalize its website, chances are they had no more use for that computer or didn't know what to do with it anyway. If an email virus or worm violates so many inboxes that the media decides to report on it, chances are it's just going to inconvenience you at the worst. For every media-publicized hack you hear about, there's dozens you don't hear about. You never hear about them because the people who are doing them are getting away with it. What you should really be concerned about is worms and Trojans getting onto your system without you knowing. Systems on your network being controlled by other people without the knowledge of their actual operators. Not only can these compromised computers be used to hack into other computers, but they can sit silently on your network collecting whatever data goes by them. Passwords, personal information, credit card numbers, anything. If you're sure one of your machines has been taken over, wait before you disconnect it from the net. If one of your machines has been owned and nothing destructive has happened yet, it's probably not going to anytime soon unless the person who's controlling it panics. Contact your ISP security department, explain what's happening, and see if they can help you gather more information on who's in your network.
In the Internet security world, full disclosure means publicly releasing all the information you have about a computer security problem you found. This is usually done with the hope that the software or hardware vendor can quickly fix the problem, and that users and system administrators can quickly fix their systems. A further goal of full disclosure is to educate others so that similar problems don't occur in future software and hardware systems. Critics of full disclosure say that releasing such sensitive information publicly allows vandals and criminals to wreak havoc on the Internet, defacing websites, stealing data, and shutting down e-commerce sites. The real problem, however, isn't more information about computer security problems. The real problem is the complacency of vendors and users to the huge risks brought by using software riddled with security flaws. This is the complacency that proponents of full disclosure seek to eradicate.
Chaos Theory is meant to be an outlet, a digital soapbox, a place to call it like it is, and to address the cybercrime issues that just aren't being talked about. If there's a topic you think needs to be addressed, perhaps we can put it to the right person. When you have a chance, post a message on our bulletin board at cybercrime.com. Or you could just tell us directly on Monday between 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We rescheduled our chat time so you can watch the show and we can shoot the breeze at the same time. Every week, different members of our cybercrime staff are there to answer your questions, discuss story ideas, and get your feedback. All right, so we will talk to you on Monday. Still ahead on cybercrime.
That's right. After careful consideration, the lawmakers concluded that computer crime is exactly twice as bad as previously thought.
Hear first from one reformed hacker and then from his attorney. Both speak out about the best ways to deal with computer intruders. That's next. As we go to the break, listen to what one cybercrime viewer has to say about Chaos Theory.
Hello, my name is John. I'm from Seal Beach, California. I really enjoy cybercrime and look forward to the Chaos Theory segment each week. After the theory, Jennifer and Alex give their opinion whether they agreed or disagreed with the theory. I would like to see some friendly debate afterward to see exactly why they feel that way. As a viewer, I find their opinions very interesting and would like to see where they get them from. Thank you very much for the great show and keep up the great work.
Welcome back. You know, we're coming to the close of NetCam Week on ZDTV. This week we've been giving away USB NetCams, 20 a day for a total of 100 by midnight Friday. And here's how you can still win. First thing you need to do is to be registered with ZDTV. That is easy. Go to ZDTV.com right now and click on NetCam Week button. Here's the deal. Every day this week, we've hidden one of the net cameras somewhere throughout the ZDTV.com website. Find a net camera, and you're eligible to win a net cam. So play right now, win a net cam, because it is time to be on ZDTV. Now, let's turn back to Chaos Theory. With more and more cybercrime making the headlines, lawmakers are finding it harder and harder to keep up. A week doesn't go by that we don't hear of new proposals about stiffer penalties or better solutions. But it does beg the question, is the rush to help just causing more problems? It just so happens reformed hacker Kevin Poulsen and his former attorney Jennifer Granick have both spoken on this particular issue, and neither one is buying into what law enforcement has called the needed tools of the trade.
Now that it's been over a month since those denial of service attacks took sites like Yahoo and ZDNet offline by flooding them with bogus data, it's perhaps a good time to look at the flood of proposals for dealing with online vandalism that are bouncing around Washington, D.C. like errant packets. You see, while computer experts are looking at technologies like packet filtering or basic protocol changes as ways of making denial of service attacks more difficult to conceal, Congress has responded with a deluge of hearings and proposed legislation. One bill would, if passed into law, make it easier to charge 15-year-old children with federal crimes. That's right. After careful consideration, the lawmakers concluded that computer crime is exactly twice as bad as previously thought. The solution is to change the maximum sentence for a first-time offender from 5 years to 10 years, for the second-time offender from 10 years to 20 years. The problem with this solution is that if Congress continues to double the prison sentences for every new Internet attack, in 4 more attacks, the 160-year sentence will deter computer vandals only with extremely long life expectancies. In the end, the best thing Congress can probably do for the Internet is to just stay out of it for now.
Following the distributed denial of service attacks last January, Attorney General Janet Reno and FBI Director Louis Freeh told Americans that law enforcement was overwhelmed. Computer criminals were acting with impunity because law enforcement had neither the knowledge nor the expertise in order to catch them. But the government isn't asking for either better citizenship on the Internet or better security. What they're asking for is broad surveillance of our networks. These are programs like SpidNet, which would monitor your contacts with the government online, the SEC's proposal to scan the Internet for people who use phrases like get rich quick, and Digital Storm, which would help agents listen in on your telephone calls. This is the most expensive and not even the best way to look for criminals. The signal-to-noise ratio is too high. The criminal is a needle in the haystack of information collected about innocent people. What the government is asking us to do will make us no more safe, but will leave our privacy bleeding on the floor.
So what do you think? Is more government regulation what we need? Post your thoughts on cybercrime.com. When it comes to privacy online, perhaps you recall Sun Microsystems CEO Scott McNealy's famous words, "You have zero privacy anyway, get over it." Were things so dire in January 1999? And is privacy completely lost today? No, not necessarily. But it is up to you, the consumer, to guard your personal information like it's gold. Here's a consumer alert from 2 of our experts.
So, in the information age, there's information being treated all over the place. You have, say, websites like Amazon.com that's tracking your information every time you buy a book. You have someone like Levi's who is asking for your fingerprints so that they know exactly what size jeans that you fit. You have Safeway that's tracking everything that you buy in their establishment. What's going to happen to all this information? Who's going to collect all this information? Which databases is going to go into eventually? I don't know. Right now, we live in a democracy, but does that mean in 20 years' time we're going to? So in the future, if we have a huge infrastructure for data, then someone could use that data for evil instead of for good. I think everyone needs to be really careful about what they do with their information. Don't just give your information out. Use encryption and make sure that you're not trading your right to freedom for some convenience and some cheap consumer goods.
You've got mail.
Junk email, spam. It fills your mailbox. It makes them feel worthless. How are we going to solve that problem? The problem is there are 3 fundamental rights that come into collision here. First is freedom of speech. Email is speech. It's going to be probably the most important form of interpersonal communication in the future. And so we've got to protect it. At the same time, we've got private property rights. You own the computer that you read your email on. How much right do you have to control that? In addition, we've got privacy rights. You want the right to be left alone, but you also want the right to be able to go out in public and put your email address on a webpage and not have it mean you're going to be swamped with information. A lot of people rush to the government. They say there ought to be a law. That's not going to be the answer. In fact, if we give up our privacy or our freedom to earn a little security, a little protection from junk email, we lose everything.
Brad Templeton is the chairman of the board at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. He also happens to be a member of our C3 panel. So if you've got a spam or privacy question for him, send us an email at cybercrime@zdtv.com. We'll be sure to drop it his way. Coming up on CyberCrime, reformed hacker Kevin Mitnick is back in court. Details in our CyberCrime news and review next. Now a quick look at the cybercrime news this week. We start with allegations of bribery at the highest levels of America's high-tech elite. Microsoft rival Oracle has admitted it hired a detective agency to investigate Microsoft allies. Earlier this month, janitors at the Association for Competitive Technology, a pro-Microsoft lobbying group, reported being bribed by an investigator wanting to see the group's trash. The investigative firm was hired at Oracle's request.
I feel very good about bringing that information to the public. I feel very good about telling you what we did. I believe in full disclosure. Why don't you ask the questions, and ask Bill and ask Steve how much they spent and why they did it.
Mr. Ellison reminds me of a kid who got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, and rather than own up to his mistake, what he's trying to do is justify it and point fingers of blame at everyone else except himself.
Oracle says the groups being investigated, Oakland's Independent Institute and the ACT, were unfairly representing themselves as independent advocacy groups paid by Microsoft to sway public opinion. Convicted hacker Kevin Mitnick was back in court this week. This time he's been barred from writing a column for an e-magazine. Mitnick was released from prison in January after pleading guilty to computer and wire fraud charges. As part of his probation, he's not allowed within a .com of a computer until January 2003. Mitnick is fighting the ban, saying the judge never meant for his terms of his probation to be so sweeping. And two last points. Suspected author of the I Love You virus will now face criminal charges. 23-year-old computer student Onel de Guzman will face charges of credit card fraud. And finally, on Friday, President Clinton signed the digital signatures bill into law. After consenting to do business online, users will now get to use the same consumer protection as they would have offline. The law goes into effect October 1st. Still ahead on CyberCrime. Richard Smith, the man who helped track down the author of the Melissa virus, speaks out about Microsoft. It's a brand new chaos theory next. But before you go, tell me, how well do you know your chaos theories? Here's a quiz. Who is the only person to have done 2 chaos theories on our show? Is it A, Wells Pond from At Stake? What about B, Sadistic from the Cult of the Dead Cow? Maybe it's reformed hacker Kevin Poulsen, that's C. Or is it D, Emmanuel from 2600? Mull it over. I'll be back after the break with the answer. Okay, back to that cybercrime quiz. Who is the only person to have done 2 chaos theories on our show? The answer is B, Sadistic from the Cult of the Dead Cow. In fact, a special kudos goes out to the CDC. They produced the piece you saw earlier in the show, From Soup to Nuts. Nice job. In fact, let's stay with Sadistic for just a moment. Back in 1998, he authored the Trojan horse program called Back Orifice. Now, the name was meant to be a play on Microsoft's back office products, and it allowed a user to remotely control another person's computer. It was also meant to highlight certain security flaws in the Microsoft operating system. Internet sleuth Richard Smith speaks out against yet another flaw: Windows' susceptibility to spreading viruses. You remember Lovebug, don't you? Microsoft, this chaos theory is from Smith to you.
After the outbreak of the love bug virus, Bill Gates, writing in Time magazine, argues that the government shouldn't break up Microsoft into two companies because it will allow Microsoft as one company to provide better solutions to problems like love bugs. But unfortunately, Microsoft actually has created this problem. They built a platform using the Windows scripting host for running viruses. And the problem really is that there was no adequate security systems in place in the Windows scripting host to prevent these kinds of outbreaks. And unfortunately, it's really let a backdoor in Windows to allow things like the love bug virus to run. The one challenge that I would make to Microsoft is to provide a fix for this problem right away. The answer here is not keeping Microsoft necessarily as one company, but instead having a security consciousness within the various groups at Microsoft to anticipate and fix these problems before they occur.
Meanwhile, if you're worried about viruses or Trojan horse programs, check out our secure scanner, located at the top right-hand corner of our home page. Click on it to scan your computer for the top 5 viruses, like Lovebug, CIH, and Happy 99. And you can also use that scanner to check to see if your computer has up-to-date antivirus programs. In fact, go try the scanner right now because the show is over. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, the CyberCrime All the Time website, do I actually have to say the name? Oh, and we leave you this week with some of our less graceful moments while taping. There's one for you. While taping the show. Those all courtesy, of course, of our show producer, Jennifer Lynn Shamingo. Thanks, Jennifer Lynn. Jennifer London and I will be back next week. Until then, so long. Use it on the air. CyberCrime hat is yours. That's right. CyberCrime hat. Yes.
I thought that was your best next on CyberCrime yet. No joke?
Now I'm scared. When someone says that to you, you can't possibly get it right. Next on CyberCrime. Hey, you guys are laughing, and I'm not freaking doing this. If I can hear you in the booth laughing, I'm not doing it. Yeah, definitely. I'm sorry. I just didn't get it.
But I don't agree with pretty much everything.
Right. I agree with you on that, but I don't agree.
I don't think that you can. Well, it's an interesting chaos theory, Alex, but I don't agree with a lot of points. Well, in fact, everything.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I don't agree with any of it. What?